Hello and welcome to another episode of the Show Me Mo School Facilities podcast put on by the NSPMA. I'm your host, Joshua Peach, and this is exciting. If you follow us on social media, we shared with you that we are going to have some addition to the podcast. And it's not my dog, Bowie, who's next to me, and I'm actually outside with him because I have frozen internet inside. But we had to have this episode go on as planned. The little backstory on the podcast. This was created 2.5 years ago. The idea was created 2.5 years ago. Charlie Branham called me and said, "Hey, Scott Dobson wants to do a podcast for the MSPMA, but he is just upside down and inside out with his day job and life and everything else. But can you give some guidance on it?" And it turned into me starting it. And the plan was always been that I start the podcast. I get about 40 to 50 episodes, which we're at 30 or so under our belt, get the podcast rated, and then transition by giving Scott some runway for him to take the helm, because this is really his baby. This was his idea, his concept. I just had the honor to kind of get things started. So we are welcoming soon to be podcast extraordinaire, expert in industry, new to podcasting co-host, Mr. Scott Dobson. Welcome aboard, my friend.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. An intro like that, I feel like I have massive shoes to fill. I'd like to meet this guy.
Yeah, well, I mean, let's get into you a little bit. Tell us a little bit about who is Scott Dobson. I'm in an elevator. I want to know who you are, what you do, what you love, and we only got a couple of floors to go before you can tell me it all.
There you go. Well, again, Scott Dobson, Director of Facilities at a school district here outside of Kansas City. Been in this role for 5 years, going on six. Yeah, 6 years, and kind of worked my way up. Electrician by trade, and worked at the school district now going on 16 years. Started in the electrical field and been doing that ever since, and low voltage tech. It's kind of my passion. Love the schools. It is the absolute most favorite thing. It's kind of mentoring. We're fortunate enough to be able to run kind of some intern projects and intern students, and kind of help develop new students into the trades and show them the way.
Awesome, awesome. And so we're going to be talking about the difference between electrocution and shock, because I've had both. And I don't know that I ever knew that. I didn't know that you started as an electrician. But
Yep.
we got another person that started in the trades, a guest that is no stranger to this podcast. As a matter of fact, you've been on, I think, once or twice, Kenny, at least on this one or the Be Awesome at FM. We have Mr. Ken Wertz, who is it this month or next month? You celebrate your second anniversary taking over as executive director of National School Plant Managers.
Right before we started, Josh, I told you that I can't even remember what happened yesterday, let alone 2 years ago. Yeah. I think
Yeah,
I'm coming on my second anniversary. Time has
yeah, I think
certainly flown by.
yeah, I
It's
think
it's
your official date, I think, was May 1st.
I,
So
I think
next,
I think you're correct. Being that you manage the dates in my life story, I'll go with that. That sounds like a great idea. I'm always focused on tomorrow. What happened yesterday, that's just a teachable moment for me. But
yeah,
I pleasure to be back on, Scott. It's great to be on you with this kicking off and you shaking your head in the no direction for those that are listening of what did I get myself into. I love that. That's perfect.
do you see the size of his microphone? I told him he's either got a small head or a big
It's
microphone or a little bit of both.
I want to be
Yeah,
heard.
it's
I want
all
to be
right.
heard.
I like it. I like it. Flashy.
No, I'll tell you, in the few weeks that Scott has accepted this kind of shared responsibility and transition, the amount of work that he has put in setting up Google Drives and folders and future guests and back screen, back screens for Zooms. I am excited to see what he does, because, as everybody knows, I just shoot right from the hip with poor preparation a lot of times, and I think I get a lot of happy accidents. A lot of luck happens in my world. So, but you're back for a couple of reasons. I think it's important that we talk about the National School Plant Management Association, as well as what's going on around the country. And I think the first thing we want to tackle is the most exciting news, which is NSPMA is going to be back where it started probably 40 years ago in the great state of Missouri, the Show Me State. So what's going on with next year's event?
So before anyone gets too excited, I did talk to Charlie Branham about this. And what we're trying to do is we're trying to make sure that we're not competing against our affiliate states, because that would be, counterproductive. So we are going to Kansas City, Missouri, April 26th through the 28th in 2026. Chris Crockett from Kansas is on our board of directors, and he and Casey Hausman as well, who's on our board of directors. Casey's from Missouri, Chris is from Kansas, and we're super, super excited. We just got off a call today with the hotel, the Marriott downtown, and there's just so many opportunities. And as an organization, and this is stuff that we talked about early on with this podcast and others, is that we're trying to rebrand. We're trying to make sure that the National Association is just that we have a national footprint, that we're helping everyone in every state, not just hyper focused on one geographic specific location, which historically, because that's where it started, was the South. So we just got back from DC. That's the furthest north we've ever been. Now we're going back to where we started, right in the belly of the Midwest, which I'm super excited about. Yeah, so some great things happening with us. And some differences from years past is at our events, all the vendors that are on the floor, all of our partners are national partners. They provide services or supplies, East Coast to West Coast and everywhere in between. No longer will you fly in from around the country to be greeted with someone who only handles like the Metro Nashville area, or, we only provide service in Maryland. Well, that doesn't help someone from Oregon who's coming in to meet with you. So a lot of cool stuff happening now, Josh and Scott.
Yeah.
That we're hoping to bring to Kansas City with us.
Am I hearing a challenge then for barbecue competition? It sounds like I heard Nashville thrown in there.
Yeah, well, it's
Different barbecue. And what I hear from the Carolinas is, that they don't count because they use a mustard-based dry. I'm from Boston. We don't do barbecue well up here at all. We do Portuguese steak on a stick with Josh, but that's about it.
I do barbecue. Speak for yourself. Vinegar based. It's delicious. But I gave my smoker away because I got frustrated. Takes too long. Patience factor. But that's awesome stuff, Kenny. And I think before, I probably should have started with DC. As someone who has been in the business, supporting facilities and education now, going into my 28th year, and NSPMA that entire time, I've seen it ebb and flow. And DC was the first time that I can remember, if ever, that it was in total neutral ground. And I know that you did that with intention. And I know that you're being very thoughtful with, and especially having people on the board in Missouri and Kansas, and you're being very thoughtful with how does this complement the states and not compete with them. But that breakout year in DC, I got to tell you something, shot in the arm. It was well done.
Thanks.
You
Appreciate that.
You lined up the presenters. I think they were perfect. I think you covered a slathering of everything that a facilities professional goes through on a day-to-day basis. No longer is it, turning wrenches and sweeping floors. It is so much more. I think you cover all the bases. I think you've aligned with an amazing group of vendors who are engaged. And like you said, I think that big transition of going from a national event with a regional focus because of, funding needs. I think you hit it. I think you hit it out of the park. Talk a little bit about Washington. Talk about the things that really worked in Washington that you're going to replicate in Kansas City, and then what are some of the things that you're thinking about doing that might even springboard to raise the bar on yourself even more. I'm guessing you probably already put some thought into this because you're planning of your next event before your current event is even over.
Well, we're already planning the next event, but we're also looking at 2027 to figure out where strategically we should go. It was Washington was a big leap of faith from the board and from the association standpoint. It's the first year that we've done it on our own without an affiliate state. And that's part of our strategic plan and part of our revised format. It just seemed it seemed to not make sense to me that oh, we're going to go to Tennessee and we're going to have another event in Tennessee. So that way Tennessee has to have 4 events. Because as you know, accountability and time out of office is at a premium right now. It's really hard for people to get away from work. The last thing we want to do is straddle another state with, oh, by the way, we're going to throw another event. Or we're going to take some of the profit share from your major event this year. So thank you very much. We don't want to do that. We want to be a support system. We don't want to be a burden. So DC really kind of set the base for us. I'm not going to lie, it was hard having just national vendors on the floor. Loading a floor with smart vendors from a region. I used to be the executive director for Massachusetts, their association. That's not hard because you can always find your favorite Jansan supplier, your favorite disaster recovery supplier. But going national, it made it tricky. The trickier thing this year, which has a lot of uncertainty for our world and for our vendor partners, is the tariffs right now. It really kind of kicked us in the butt a little bit on some companies that historically would attend, have things a little bit on pause right now. So it was a weird time to start that, but I think it was brilliant. And being in the location really opened the doors for us to have smart partnerships with national relevant groups who support us. I mean, Homeland Security had a booth. Part of their cybersecurity and school safety group had a breakout session. So it wasn't that, oh, I'm going to have the person who normally does our breakout sessions. It's like, no, I'm going to have Homeland Security do one. I'm going to have the National Council on School Facilities do another one. The National Center on Infrastructure was there. The Government Accountability Office, working with them on a project, they were there. They had great meetings with a lot of our people. So it was really nice to see that diversity from our presenters and the people that were in front of our attendees. I would say the most encouraging thing that happened was we had 25 different states in attendance. I think that's the highest number of diverse states sending people to our event that we've ever had. So it really showcased a lot of different conversations and a lot of things that are happening across the country that honestly, you and I travel quite a bit together. I learn every time I go up. I'm a lifelong learner. I'm a sucker for just getting content about our world. I'm really a huge geek about it. And I just shared with someone today. I'm like, yeah. So we're trying to support schools that look like us all the time, but we're forgetting all the schools where a school district has 100 kids or less. And the more places I go, there's more 100 or less than there are 3,000 to 5,000 student schools. So it's a continuum of those conversations and having cool events in DC where we could talk to a lot of different people. Jeff from West Fargo, North Dakota was in attendance. We've never had anyone from North Dakota in attendance. Yep. He's on an island. They don't even have an association. So it's trying to figure out how we can partner with Missouri, how we can partner with whoever to get some support structures out to North Dakota. So it's an exciting time, and I just hope that we can continue to help people as much as we're trying to. It's really been a good ride.
That's awesome. That sounds like that went amazing. I was not fortunate enough to be there this year. How many vendors did you have, vendor booths?
So that's a great question, Scott. What we're trying to do is we're trying to bring the right vendors and the right people, which makes it difficult from a business standpoint, but I think it's critical for us as a first start growth standpoint. So we had about 65 vendors and we had about 100 and plus people or so. So the vendor to person ratio was appropriate. And as a first year leading into it, it was a good first step. And now it's trying to figure out, okay, how come a lot of people couldn't make it? Funding. Okay, so how do I go track down potential scholarship funds? And we started to, but a lot of corporations now have ceased their scholarship funds just because of the economy and everything. It's like, all right, I know this company used to have some scholarship funds available. Maybe I can reach out to them. You reach out to them. Sorry, we've discontinued our scholarships for this time being. So we're always trying to figure out a better way to do it and make it more accessible to everyone. And anytime we host these events, much like you do in Missouri, the association isn't making money off the attendees. We never do. We typically lose money on everyone that walks in the door, but that's not why we do it. So we really have amazing vendor partners that help carry that burden to keep our doors open as a nonprofit. Even though we're a nonprofit, we still need to make money. We still need to keep things open. We still need to buy technology, need to pay for executive directors, all that kind of fun stuff. But we're trying to keep the price points as tight as we possibly can. So that way it's something that everyone can come and appreciate.
Awesome. Huge
Yeah,
shout out.
no,
What a big lift.
yeah, and I think that's right. I think you're, I think that the previous, we'll call it chapter, they filled the room with anyone that was willing to pay, and there were some big dollar people, and it lost. What I felt in that exhibitor area was real energy, and even though it wasn't a high attendance, it was a nice matched. It was busy enough. There was always stuff going on, and people walking and moving around and doing things, and great conversation. So that was a big risk. I applaud you for stepping out of everybody's comfort zone, you and your board. I know it took a lot to step out of your comfort zone to do this as a first step for something that's going to be amazing. I predict, Scott, your people in Missouri, and I'll tell you, you've got Chris Crockett and Casey Hausman on the board competing for, who's going to have bragging rights, and it's Kansas City, Missouri. But Kansas is right next door. I think you guys are gonna come equipped. And the other thing is, 60% of schools in Missouri, and I believe it's in Kansas as well, at least that number, they're under 1,000 students. And for you to be able to provide a national event with national vendors, some of which can give them some really good competitive pricing, whether through a co-op or something else, and give them an outlet to come to on top of MSPMA or KDPF. I think it's an added benefit and plus. So, Scott, correct me. What are your thoughts?
No,
Am I close?
Yeah, I think you're all over it. I'm super excited. I think it's going to be a huge benefit. Like you said, a lot of districts don't always get that huge national attention or some of those big vendors with the big names. And so that's going to be really cool to bring them here locally. And our folks not have to travel quite as far from both the Missouri and the Kansas side, putting it right here in the border. So it's going to be awesome.
See, what I think is funny. What I think is funny, Josh, is you think that Kansas and Missouri are going to compete. I think that Michigan and Wisconsin are going to come down and put a run for your money. I think we've got a lot of really good area communities around. I know Oklahoma, Charlie's going to load up a bus and drive people in. It's going to be, I think it's like the perfect storm, right?
Yeah.
We've got some good energy, got some good momentum. And I think strategically, I'm really hopeful for this coming year. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, what's interesting is like Oregon, Washington, they never had anybody come. Now you've got Katie on the board, and you and I traveled to Oregon for you to present, and I did their keynote and did some awesome work with them, which was amazing. I mean, what a phenomenal organization that is. But when their president, when Ann Berkey, their incoming president, and Chelsea, their vice president, that went to Washington, D.C., tell 189 facility directors that were in the room, hey, you got to mark this state down next year because this is going to be awesome, and we can get there fairly easy. That's got to be something awesome to hear. Like, hey, they would have said that even if you weren't in the audience. They really felt that it was worthwhile to get on a plane and come spend 3 days with their peers from around the country, talk to vendors and learn, and then bring back what they learned. That's got to be pretty good accomplishment and feeling that you got.
It's very humbling. I mean, everyone has been so supportive, and again, it's getting the right people on the bus. It's getting the people who have energy, getting the people who leave their egos at the door and know that we're working for something that's bigger than all of us put together. It's funny. I kid at home. When I travel, my wife travels for work sometimes. She hates it. I hate it. I'm like, I love it. She's like, yeah, well, you get to go travel with your best friends. I'm like, no, everywhere I go, when I go to an event, it's a facilities event, and I make 250 to 500 new best friends. We're all a bunch of building geeks. We're all struggling. No one else on the planet knows what we do. But in that environment, we can all connect with people. And whether you're sharing best practices, whether you're commiserating in each other's misery, or celebrating your successes, we get each other. I don't care if you're from the North Pole, Alaska, all the way to Ozark Mountains. Doesn't matter. We're public servants that are providing a safe and healthy environment for kids and teachers. Kind of cool. And those are the little vignettes, the little moments that I see at these events when I'm going around snooping around, that I see people having these conversations over over a plate of nachos. It's just, there's so many different opportunities where it hit, and this year was really good, but never good enough. We're already refining, we're already shifting. So yeah, it's gonna be even better.
That's great.
Inspired
Scott, you look
just
like,
listening to it.
yeah, I was gonna say, you look like you were gonna say something, then you just were beaming from ear to ear with a smile on it. It's this is great. We got an electrician and a plumber turned full-fledged building geeks
Right.
of overall. Yeah, there's a question for you. What, for both of you, what were you guys thinking? You had this little microcosm known as plumbing and electrical, and now you cut your teeth being a facility director for a period of time, and now you're an executive director representing all schools. And Scott, you got a pretty big role in your district. What was that like, and where was that determination saying, hey, I want to take my generalized skill set that I'm really good at and take it into a different level?
And
You go ahead, Scott. Share your story, Scott.
That's
I want to hear
fine. Yeah.
yours.
Mine's a different story. Mine was been out of school for a while and working in the trade, and the economy kind of slowed down there in '08. And it's like, well, there's a lot of job layoffs, and the school was hiring, looking for an electrician. I had a buddy call me and say, hey, we're looking for an electrician over at the school district. What do you think about applying? Schools need electricians. What would they do? Like, is there enough work? And 16 years later, I try to figure out how we can have 2 to 3 more electricians in the district because of the work order count a day. And the things, big push in our district is trying to push for self-perform. We're trying to self-perform anything and everything. Our biggest pride is not having contractors in our schools. Minus new construction, we're doing everything from remodels to additions and equipment replacements and things like that. And that's the badge of honor. I think it comes in our trade is the self-perform and doing things yourself. I think it's huge. Helps the district, helps the community, helps everybody see the value. So, Ken, I'm excited. What's yours?
Yeah, so that's great that you're self-performing. I too, I'm a recovering facilities director from 18 years or so, but I will say that self-performing piece, if it's done well, that's awesome. But what I see a lot of districts do is we're going to self-perform. So that means we're going to backlog all our preventive work because we're too busy building a new science lab, so we don't have to pay prevailing wage. So as long as you're doing it right and you're structured right and you're still doing your PMs, great. Just a word of caution to folks who think that's the best avenue. Make sure you're not neglecting your preventative work, all of your PMs, in order to do that self-performance stuff. I fell into that pit as a young facilities director. I'm like, we can do all this work ourselves. And then and then all of our exhaust fans, belts were thrown. It's like, well, where the hell were you all summer? It's like, well, we were renovating a kindergarten because we could do it ourselves. Dummy.
Nope, that is a great point and good note.
Yeah, it's so Josh, I did it because I've got 2 bad knees, a blown out shoulder. You get electrocuted. I get caught on fire sometimes, being a plumber and a pipe fitter and a welder and all that stuff. Yeah, I left private sector work, started working as the school's plumber. There was an opportunity, first day I drove in, I said, wow, you guys are wasting a lot of money on steam because all that smoke coming out of your roof, that's steam blow by. And I'm an old steamy guy. There's not a lot of people that worked on steam systems. So I spent the first year and a half just crawling through tunnels, replacing steam traps, saving energy. And it just, I don't know, things just fell into place. My former boss said, hey, kid, because I was a kid, I was 24, I think, or 25 when he was retiring. You're pretty smart. You should go get your builder's license and put in for my job. I'll give a good word for you. Like, all right. So at age 20, 6, they hired this kid who didn't have kids. My wife was working 80 hours a week. I was working 80 hours a week because I had imposter syndrome, and I just gobbled up as much as I could. And it was fun. We did a lot of amazing work and helped a lot of kids. And then it just grew into helping out with the association here in Massachusetts, and then moving into that role as their executive director, leaving public sector behind. And then this opportunity with the national came aboard, and I said, well, I'm winding down my career. I might as well see how many folks I can help out across the country. So it's been interesting that the network I've built over the years, little did I know it was going to still be relevant on a national scope. So the engineering firms I work with, the U.S. Green Building Council, people from the EPA, I've made all these connections along the way, and they're still the right people to connect to. So I'm taking that whole network, not the whole network, because there are some that are very Massachusetts specific, but a large portion of my network I built as executive director here in Massachusetts, and have shifted it right into NSPMA, and it's been just hit the ground running. It's been so good.
That was great. Yeah, you bring up a big one there. Networking. Seems like the key to our roles. That's for sure. It's kind of cool to hear we have a very similar path. That mentorship. I had a mentor that brought me up in the district, and very similar. He retired and as the maintenance supervisor, and was able to kind of slide into the maintenance supervisor role, and did that for a number of years before going to the director role. And yeah, the mentorships are key, and that's my hope to always keep trying to pass down.
So when did you first learn how to use Microsoft Office?
Microsoft Office.
Do you remember that day where you said, "Oh, I'm a director now. I'd better learn how to do Excel"?
Yeah, probably 08, 09. But yeah, we're G Suite district.
No, that's fortunate. I'm a G Suite now too. But it's like those are the weird things, Josh, that happen along the way. It's like I'm a plumber and this, I'm that, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, you need to put together a PowerPoint presentation. Like, huh? What? Who? What? When? Where? What? No.
Yeah, your toolbox changes.
Yeah.
Significantly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
we've got the largest toolbox in the world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And your technician's toolbox changes too, because they have to use, leverage technology for so many things now, and doing things. I think it's an exciting time to be in this profession, and I think it's an exciting time. I like to hear Scott and others talk about how they're building up our kids in the schools to start to learn the trades and learn the programs. And I think it's also important to know that these trades do take a toll on your body. So you got to be prepared. You're not going to be doing this for 50 years. Like I met, was it CW, who was the chemical supply king of Oregon, and he's 86 years old and still sharp.
Oh yeah, I met that dude.
Still sharp as can be, and he's been doing it for 70 years. You can't do what the trades are doing for 70 years. You can do it for a finite amount of time, but then you have to figure out what's next, and where do you take that knowledge set and grow it to help others. And Scott had a great point. And I think that's a challenge, an inadvertent challenge for next year, is to have some part of the program, or even a track in your program, for states to come together and figure out how to build mentorship programs, because state associations have been talking about this for years. Kenny, you and I have talked about this 100 times, but nobody's doing it. It's all piecework. And I think if you bring everybody together and you say, how do we build a mentorship program, or how do we put a pilot together in one state, or a bunch of us support a program to pilot someplace, and we can do so much with virtual mentoring, like mentoring facility leaders. I think the challenge is too many facility leaders were wrench turners, one skill labor, and they don't realize that all of these tools, like what we're using right now, you're in your office in Canton, Scott's in his house in Missouri, and I'm in my backyard in Massachusetts, and we're effectively having a professional development / podcast recording right here. Why can't we build a national mentor program where Scott mentors, Eugene, Oregon, right? And does something like that. Maybe there's some bigger play there, because there's so many, I hear it so often, and maybe the net's not big enough for a state to do a program. Maybe it is a national a matchmaking session for leadership or a group. I don't know, but I'd love to see something like that happen. And I just threw that out there at you. And I love making you uncomfortable with this stuff because you always seem to put it together.
No,
But
I
I saw
think
you.
No, I love that.
I saw you
My-
writing something, and I don't know if it was making a note of the mentorship idea or kill Josh when this call is over. So either
so I
way,
wrote down
either way, I'm happy.
grow with a little arrow. I put grow with a little arrow, mentorship program, and then underneath it I put workforce development, because
Yeah.
the two tie together. And we are doing some things as far as workforce development. We're working with USGBC. We're working with a couple of different associations now, trying to figure out how to get the next generation wanting to do this. The United Way couldn't make DC, but we are starting to do some more work. The United Way that has a workforce development program where they have people on the bench that are pre-trained and ready to go. So it's like, I can't find a custodian. I'm like, did you contact the United Way's workforce development program for your state? Well, I didn't know they had one. I said, neither did I until I called them. So there is some stuff, but you're right. It's fractured. We're operating in silos about as far as the mentorship. Some associations do it well, some don't. I know school superintendents typically have a very good mentorship program. I know the school business officials have a quasi decent one. When I'm talking to our affiliate states, there are some that report they have a mentorship program, but I haven't seen anything really substantive about it.
I know.
Well, and I
Go
think a
ahead.
word to use, I think a word to substitute, and then I don't mean to cut you off, Scott. The words that I use is proper career pathing. Most leaders, Scott, you had someone, Kenny, you had someone that both saw something innate in you that you may not have seen in yourself, and they chose to mentor you and took a chance. They could have been wrong. So I've had people that have been wrong about my career pathing, and that's something that I think is so important that many leaders miss. And Kenny, you've heard me, Scott, you've probably heard me say this too, because I shout it from the rooftop, is leaders need to have their support staff for 15 minutes at least twice a year and make sure that their team is on the path that they want to be on for what they want their career to look like. Because without that, we're mentoring. We could be wasting our. I think why mentorship programs fail is because we're potentially mentoring the wrong people because we're not career pathing and understanding what they want to get out of life. Sorry,
That's a
Scott.
great point.
I got on my soapbox.
No, that's huge. I want to kind of keep going on that one. That's at our April meeting here for MSPMA. That was a conversation, a big conversation point was the mentorship and what does that look like, and kind of some action items left that meeting here earlier this month about what could we do and what does that look like for the state of Missouri. Currently, we don't have a great one, a great kind of grow your own path and mentorship program, but we kind of see that as a need because again, the resources of the larger districts and the smaller districts, just like you said, Josh, I mean, 60% of our districts are under 1,000 students. Some of those well under 500 students. And it doesn't mean that they're not worthy. It means that they just don't have that big repertoire of people. So let's try to get in there, help them, whether that's simple of development of RFPs or RFQs or helping them have that template in their bag so that way when their district has a project, they're quickly and able to produce it.
Well, and what's amazing
Missouri,
with
I was going to say, in Missouri, you have the benefit of having your certification program at your state level. Yep. And I think anyone that's new coming on board, in addition to getting the curriculum that you're providing them, they also build that network where they're in a room with a whole bunch of other facilities directors. And if they're not leveraging that, that's a missed opportunity for them. But not every state has a decent program like you guys are offering in Missouri. So hats off to you for that, because that certainly, it gives a boost to the new person walking in that looks like a deer in the headlights, because you step into our world and it's like, whoa, what was I thinking? But you go to these events, you get 50 people in a room together, they can all kind of console and say, you'll be all right. You'll be okay. Yep. I remember what it felt like first time.
And it's great to understand you're not in the silo. You're not the only one dealing with that problem. You think, oh, I'm a small district. I'm the only person that has that problem. And you walk into that room and there's 50 to 75 to 200 of you, and you all have the exact same problem. That is what is always amazing to me.
Yeah. I think as we're going way off on, I love it because my ADHD just kicked in. I'm outside, birds are chirping. Two things on that with the career pathing and picking on those small schools. I think if we start looking at some of those small schools, especially those rural small schools like Campbell, Missouri, which I hate to pick on them, but they do happen to be the peach capital, Missouri, down in the boot. Their
Mm,
superintendent of schools, that superintendent of schools he's career pathing what he wants for his career if he leaves there, because he's wearing so many hats. He's the superintendent, the assistant superintendent, the food service director, the transportation director, probably drives a bus on occasion, facility director, IT director, all wrapped into one. You find someone like that can give you that full scope. And Kenny, right down the street from you, Blue Hills. If you go to Blue Hills
yep.
Regional, you go Blue Hills Regional Voc for skilled trade. When you start as a freshman, you spend the first 9 or 27 weeks, the first 27 weeks going to 9 different programs, to try to figure out what it is, where you fit and how you fit. And I think that's one of the challenges with operations is we put a custodian in the custodian space and we don't say, hey, this is what the life of an electrician looks like. This is what the life of a plumber looks like. This is what the life of a carpenter looks like, or HVAC
Right.
tech or supervisor or leader. I think, work for a day in every role and learn, opposed to just say, hey, would you like to do this? It's, hey, check out what we do and get them more involved. And Scott, you and I were talking about, reports that you're preparing for an upcoming meeting, involving your team and saying, hey, this is what I'm going to do to represent you, opposed to going and saying, I just represented you. Right? Or do you want to come help me present this? Is pretty strong stuff. I love that I made a great suggestion for the upcoming conference. I can't wait to see what I volunteered for.
Oh, you volunteered for a
Charlie,
lot. Don't you worry. Don't you worry.
Charlie never volunteers anybody.
No. Well, Charlie's a great example. Charlie could hold any role in a district, right?
Told. Yeah, yeah. It's the voluntold piece. I think we're trying to get away from that too. It's kind of interesting that it's always the same people that step up. And when you're looking at mentorship programs, and Josh and I have talked about this 1,000 times over, the life of a volunteer now is different than it was 20 years ago. And the mentorship programs that I see being a little more successful are the ones where the mentor gets some financial incentive to be there versus the well-intentioned organizations say, oh, we've got a mentorship program. One of our board members is going to donate 4 days a year to this mentee. Never happens. It just falls short. Whereas if there's some business and some structure to it, it seems to hold up a little bit more than, and again, it's the best intentions. It really is. But right now, in the time that we're living, focus your volunteers where you can get the most bang for the buck for them, that they feel rewarded, they feel empowered, they feel like they're making a difference, and outsource some of the other stuff. And that your board steps up and does what they can, but they're not asked to do more than they can.
Yeah. No, I think that's right. Well, I'm going to ask my last couple questions, and Scott, if you got a couple last questions to stump Kenny, I know that what you're going to tell me on this, the answer to this question is going to be exactly where I expected us to be. But 2 years ago, discussions of what the next couple of years would look like, and if you thought you were going to make it to this point of being the executive director with the challenges you were facing, how close? I'm sure you had vision and thoughts. How close or far are you from what you expected or what you wanted to accomplish? And then what do you foresee in the next year, not for just NSPMA, but what do you foresee is vision for the next year, and our operations teams needing to be more resilient, and budgets and the ESSER cuts and everything else? What are some words of wisdom, advice, forward thinking, any of that stuff? So 2-part question for you.
2-part question. I'll answer it in 4-part harmony. Let's see. It's so let me break it off into subsections, right? Do I think that we are where I thought we would be? When I took on this role, I had no idea where we were headed. Our strategic plan was not very strong. Our vision wasn't very strong. So through hard work, we have a clear vision and path now. Our primary goal is to provide value to both our members. In doing that, once we've established why we're an association, then how fills in. So it's been some good work leading up to it. There have been some very, very scary times. Anytime you at this, you start looking at business models, projections start over. It's a tricky place to be in, which I kind of enjoy. I like a challenge. I mean, you know me. I don't shy away from it. The hardest part is reprogramming my brain a little bit. I'm a Josh, you have said it. You've said it, and Charlie Brandon says it too. It's like I'm the most liberal person that you know, right? To a fault. Everyone has their strengths and weaknesses. Even Charlie's like, I don't even know how we're friends, but we are. I'm like, that's awesome, dude. I love that. So it's tempering my passion and making sure it doesn't get in the way of the greater good. Because everyone that we're working with is in it for the right reasons. It's just that we might have a different vision of how to get there. And now, as I travel the country more, it's having meetings in DC that I didn't think I'd be at those meetings. I just got back from DC a month ago, where I met with all the other national associations across the country to talk about school safety and security. That's pretty cool. That wasn't on my radar. It was on my radar to partner with all those groups, but through pushing and through working, we're there. So now we've got a seat at the table, and now we have to make sure we don't lose that seat. So that's the future, is continuing to provide online. I think our digital footprint needs to grow, and that's what we've been working on behind the scenes. As you know, anytime you're doing something with a digital footprint, you need funding in order to press it out. So now that we have a funding source and a funding strategy, now that we've diversified our portfolio, we kind of start moving in that direction. So digital training, webinars like this, what you get at a state level, because at a state level, you have certain procurement things you have to deal with. National level, we can't teach every state's requirements, but we can teach what we think are, I hate using the term best practices because none of us can afford best. So the correct practices, and figuring out how to meet everyone where they're at. So we're in a good place right now. We've got some good strategic strategies. We had a successful conference. We had a leadership summit last summer, which was great for all reasons that we hadn't anticipated. But from a financial standpoint and from an interest standpoint, it doesn't seem like that's a great fit for us right now, for everyone, because people can't travel. There's no funding to get people under the same room together at a national level. So we're really taking a hyper focused look on that. But yeah, it's been both scary and exciting. That I always struggle with imposter syndrome a little bit, because I'm a wrench turner by trade. So it's like trying to prove the world wrong every day of the week. And it's getting to go and hang out in Oregon, hang out in Branson. I'm going to Savannah, Georgia, go to their event. I'm speaking in Arkansas. I'm going to Vermont in June. Vermont only has 53 school districts. They don't have an association. They're supported by their school superintendents, and their only professional development is they have once a year, 1 day event that's not even all custodial and maintenance. So, all right, how do we help them? How do we figure out how to help out Maine? How do we figure out how to help out Oklahoma? So it's all exciting stuff. It's just trying to connect the dots in this weird government world that we're in right now. We don't have a federal Department of Education. I reached out to Madam Secretary 2 months before our event to invite anyone from the Department of Ed to DC. That was on a Sunday. On Monday, half the department was gone. On the following Monday, the other half was gone. It's okay. We got to figure it out. We have to react. We have to be, pliable and kind of be organic about things. But there's no roadmap. So it's an uncertain time right now. But I think with everyone collectively working on it together, I think we're going to do some amazing stuff.
Oh, that is awesome. Do you sleep much? That's my first question.
I do. Kinda. Yeah, I like to sleep. I like to sleep in. I don't sleep. I don't go to sleep very easily. My sleep is not that good because my brain's always spinning. It's a train wreck. And this is me on decaf. It used to be
Take a
really scary when I drank caffeinated coffee.
take a
Man.
red eye flight with him. You'll see him sleep.
Oh my God, yeah, yeah.
Wow.
I crashed out, dude. That was a late night. I was gassed.
Yeah.
The
I was
level of
up-
energy you bring to this is amazing. And
Well,
I can't thank you enough for what you do for our states and what you do for our schools.
No, thank you. But it goes around to everyone, right? We're all, if our hearts are in the right space with why we're doing it, how could you not be excited about it? You get to change the life of a child every day you walk into a door. You get to make a kid's life better. And some of those kids are really struggling. It's a hard time to be a kid. It's a hard time to be an adult. But we can make a difference. Even if we move the needle a little bit to make the planet a little bit better for one person, why the hell wouldn't you throw yourself at it?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well,
Well,
I
Guys,
got,
I've got to hop off, Josh. Is that going
Yeah,
to
this
mess
is
up your
no,
time? In addition to
this is
in addition to not getting much sleep these days, I've got to go pick up my oldest from their job, and I think I've got to convince everyone we should have ice cream for dinner. What do you think? Ice cream for dinner?
I had ice cream at an event yesterday for
I think
lunch. It
ice
was
cream.
delicious. I think it's outstanding.
Oh,
No, this is perfect because Bowie is he's making all sorts of noise. He wants to go and he's had enough. Scott, you made it through your first episode. You
hey, one down.
you brought some good heat. We talked national, we talked Missouri. Are you gonna make it to the second episode?
If you'll have me back, I'll try my best.
Oh, this
Try my
thing is
best.
this is your baby. I've just been holding it. So
you
No.
can't
look,
deny that microphone, dude. You can't deny that
no,
microphone.
you
That thing is
cannot.
solid.
He said he was going to get rid of it for the next one. I told him absolutely not.
No,
You got to keep that
no,
thing. Now,
no.
Kenny,
You need to put some googly eyes on that thing. Really get it up there. Be like your side character, right? Got
Let's
a
do
fellow
it.
googly eyed microphone. Nice.
Kenny, this was a big first for us to have Scott on and start this kind of transition of things and enjoy. And I think no better way to do it than to get caught up with something exciting that's going to be happening in Missouri next April in 2026. That you're going to be collaborating and partnering with
Yep.
all of the states, but the Midwest specifically that's touching this event. My prediction. Here's my prediction. Here, let's get before you go. Everybody, throw your predictions. I'm gonna let you two go first. How many attendees? Closest one wins. Doesn't have to buy dinner. The other two will have to fight for who doesn't have to pay
Who
for a
gets
dinner.
a check? All right.
Yeah, who gets a
You're
check?
saying
So
attendees.
how many attendees and from how many states? Do 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 do.
Well, I mean, I don't want to go first. I've got inside information. So, but
I'll go. 317 from 31 states.
317.
From
Wow.
31 states.
Ooh, doggy.
Central.
Go ahead.
It's
Go
going to
ahead,
be a
Ken.
benefit.
that's a big number. I don't know if we have enough sandwiches for that.
Yeah.
Oh my word! I got to go back to the store.
Go ahead, Kenny.
I am going to guess realistically because I want the right people there. And see, that's the tricky part.
Mhm.
I'm going to say 225 from 30 states and one guest appearance from someone from Puerto Rico.
Mhm.
Because
We've
had no one from the province attend.
I mean, that's going to be bonus points right there. Is just picking that one right there.
And someone's
So-
got to have goals. They got to have goals, man.
Yeah. Well, what did you say? 317 in 31 states.
Mhm.
Yep.
Okay.
Lofty.
Oh, I'm about to blow you right out of the water, and Kenny's
Uh-oh.
about to get scared. I'm going to say 413, 39 states, and one Canadian province.
Oof! If they can
Yeah.
travel,
Yeah, no, they're going to. That's my
I hope so.
And
I
I'm gonna
hope so because I hope our friends from the north can travel again because I miss them.
Yeah. Yep, I agree, and that's why we're going to encourage them to come, and you're going to encourage Puerto Rico. I'm going to get the numbers. You'll get the Puerto Rico bonus points, and Scott's going to end up buying dinner.
Yes, baby.
Barbecue. Barbecue.
You
Right
guys,
on.
I appreciate this opportunity to give a shout out to our staff. And Scott,
Yeah.
congratulations on this. This is going to be great. And I will dial in, log in, and listen up, so that way I know what I'm walking into when I come out to Branson in the fall.
Thanks a lot, Kenny. Thanks, Scott, for joining for the first episode. Next episode, you're closing us out because you're going to have to hear me close it out first, so that you get the rundown and the recording. That will do it for another episode of the Show Me Mo podcast. This was great to have Kenny on. We're going to have him on quarterly, or someone from National Quarterly, to keep us updated with the attendance, see who's closer, and see how quickly we blow Kenny's number out of the water, get to Scott's, and then we're getting closer to me. And I think we're going to go over that 413. But we appreciate all 5-star rating and reviews. That helps us with our exposure. And we have just gotten into the ratings. So we have broken through the top 10%. We're closed in on the top 5% of all podcasts. And for being something focusing on Missouri facility operations, that says a lot. We get a lot of downloads, and we got a lot of downloads from around the country. So appreciate all those that are putting their comments and 5-star ratings and following us on LinkedIn. And that'll do it. We'll talk to you soon. Bowie and I are checking out. Scott, see you soon, buddy.
See you guys.
See you guys. Take care.